there, happy Friday, and welcome to the Hatha Yoga Center. I'm Chris, and this is the 5:30 all levels yoga class on Friday, August 14th. And it's quite warm out. When I got here today, I turned the air on to cool it off a little in here, and I accidentally turned on the heat. So I'm cooling it off a little bit now. Anyway, we're coming into the end of summer already, although we still have another month. And it's supposed to be very hot this weekend, so I think maybe to start tonight we'll just find our seat and take a few breaths, and then we'll start to move. So coming to a place where you can sit and find your long spine and find your seat. So perhaps sitting up on a block or a cushion, or maybe on a chair, or just sitting on the floor. And just feeling your spine rising up out of your heavy pelvis and legs on the floor. And just starting to shift your awareness towards your breath before we start to move. So taking a few breaths in and out through your nose. And we'll continue to breathe in and out through the nose throughout the duration of our practice this evening. So feeling like there's kind of an unimpeded flow of air coming in and out of your body. And that there's all of these processes happening with the breath, but your job is to just bring the air in and to let it go back out. And to do so as comfortably and with as much consciousness as you can during your practice. So noticing, you might close your eyes for a moment, noticing if there's anywhere where you feel like there's some kind of resistance or blockage to having that nice free flow of breath. Sometimes when we have our head forward or we're rounding, that can make it harder, or sometimes we just aren't relaxed around the rib cage, or we're not allowing the movement of the belly with the breath. So just bringing yourself into the most comfortable, deeper, more conscious breath you can right now. And just taking a few more breaths like that, just in and out through the nose, inhaling and exhaling. And so we'll keep this kind of breathing, perhaps closing off the back of the throat a bit, coming into Ujjayi breathing, or breath of victory, as a way to stay focused during our practice, so you can just kind of hear your breath, bringing ourselves back to that breath over and over again throughout this practice. Hi, Janice, how are you? Do you have any requests this evening? I was just doing some breathing, some conscious breathing. I'm not sure if you were there, and I'm going to start to move with that conscious, comfortable breath. So if you have anything that you are interested in, you can drop it in the comments, and I'll come back and look in a minute. But for now, just coming to the front of your mat, if you're using a mat. I accidentally turned the heat on, so I just had to cool it off a little bit. So just allowing yourself to find this standing mountain pose. So feeling your feet spreading and touching the floor, and kind of swaying around a little bit to feel how you're standing over the soles of the feet. Letting the front of your chest open. Finding your long neutral spine, feeling how your head is balanced on top of your shoulders. And then sweep your arms up really slowly. Inhale, bringing the arms up and reaching. You could bend your knees a little bit, trying to find your the neutral curve of your lumbar spine. So dropping and grounding a little bit through the sacrum, lifting up through this pubic bone, up through the sternum, lifting up through the fingertips. You You could spread your hands and stretch your fingers and palms, and then come forward, exhale, lengthening the spine as you come into your forward bend. And taking a couple breaths here, trying to find the place with your neck and with your entire body really where your breath feels the most comfortable, which probably isn't with your head dropped forward. So keeping that open flow of air. And you might come up a little bit and let your belly have a little room for the breath in this early part of our practice. So letting your belly move. As you inhale, a little expansion of the belly. And then we'll step left foot back and bring the knee down and just come up, bringing the weight up and over the left knee. And again, let your arms sweep out to the sides. Inhaling the arms up, spreading your hands, taking a breath or two here. And then you could bring your arms back down and reach behind you and clasp the hands, opening up the front of the chest, stretching gently, and then release. Bring your hands to your knee, walk that foot forward a bit, and find your lunge. I'm going to come peek at the screen and see what you have to say, Janice. So coming into that lunge, upper back exercises between the shoulder blades. Glad you made it. And just another breath there. And then maybe bringing your hands down, bringing the knee forward, stretching into the back of the calf a bit. Into the ankle. Still staying with your nice, deep, smooth, comfortable breathing. And then bringing your hips back. Step out to hands and knees, and let's do a little bit of cat-cow. Spread your hands and kind of wrap the elbows in, kind of lifting your palms a little bit. And then start your cat-cow, rounding the spine. Exhale all the air out. Inhale as you tip and arch your spine. And just moving through those familiar movements of the spine and the pelvis. And maybe the next time you come to your cow, you could pause for a moment, kind of keep those shoulder blades right snug on the back of the rib cage, lift the belly a little bit, just kind of gazing forward. One of my friends who's a yoga teacher calls this proud lion pose. And then round your spine, exhaling, and maybe come up onto fingertips and round into the upper back. She calls this Halloween cat. Breathing there, really expanding the middle of your back. And then bring your hands down again, spread your hands, tuck your toes, bring your hips back and stretch a little into the bottoms of your feet if that's comfortable, and into the back of your lower legs and your ankles. And then lift the hips, coming up, bending into one knee and the other. Moving your hips a bit and breathing. Letting your breath be nice and comfortable and luxurious with your practice. Coming back to center. Exhale, come forward into plank, keeping the head lifted. Bringing your hips right in between the crown of the head and the heels. I like to rock a little bit forward and backward. Kind of just playing with the weight over my wrists. You could even go a little bit side to side, just being careful with your wrists. And then maybe with the knees down or not. Coming onto your belly with your elbows by your sides. Bringing the forearms forward, coming into your Sphinx pose. Maybe like dragging your belly forward, stretching your belly. You can feel if you tip your tailbone down a bit towards the heels and lift the belly, it takes some of the arch out of your lower back, some of the compression out of your spine there. Nice steady breath, gaze, steady gaze forward. And then sweeping the arms back, clasping your hands and rolling up. And just rolling from side to side, so coming onto your left side. And breathing, feeling your right shoulder blade kind of digging into the back of the rib cage. And then over to the other side. Again, steady breath. Maybe the Ujjayi breathing. Rolling back onto your belly. Lifting your toes and the tops of your feet off the floor, coming into locust, Shalabhasana. Keeping the neck long. Release your hands, keep your elbows tucked in by your sides and press yourself back up to downward facing dog. So just moving slowly through the transitions. Stepping the right foot up, bringing the sole of the right foot up and over the left foot. Lifting your right hip. Kind of lengthening your waistline. Keep reaching through the right hand. Pressing into the floor and wrapping your right elbow in. Breathing. And then stepping back to center and stepping your left foot up and over the right foot, bringing the sole of the left foot to the floor and lifting your left hip. Coming back to the breath again. Stretch all the way up the left side of your body, stepping back to center. And then we'll step the left foot forward, bring the right knee down, coming into the lunge on the other side. And sweep your arms up like you're gathering up some air. Reaching, bringing the weight back over the right knee and taking a couple breaths here. And then maybe you could make fists even and draw your elbows down and together and then back up, reach through your fingers. And again, make fists, draw your elbows together, open your chest. One more time like that, reach up, spread your hands, then make fists and draw your elbows together. And then bring your hands to your left knee, coming forward and still lifting. So you might have a little engagement in the glutes there. Feeling the stretch in the front of the right hip. Feeling your breath. Nice and steady. Lengthening up, even as you're sinking. Or as Bob sometimes would say, reaching down to reach up. And then coming forward, you could bring your knee forward of the heel so that you can get into the back of the left calf and ankle. Nice, deep, steady breath. And then bringing your weight back again. And then just thinking about how you're going to step forward using your core, lifting the foot up and stepping it forward. Coming back to your forward bend. And again, maybe making a little room for the breath in your belly. Keeping the shoulder blades snug against the back of the rib cage. Keeping your jaw at ease, breathing. Staying really with the consciousness of your breath in your practice. Letting it flow. And then reaching out, sweep your arms up and reach up. See if you can find just a little bit of a back bend in the upper back, even as your lower back is staying neutral. Just a little stretch of the belly. And then hands come together at the heart. And just pause for a moment, just feeling the breath here in your standing mountain pose. And we'll reach up again, lengthen up. Exhale, come forward, long spine. And then before you step back, just pick your left foot up, bend your knee, and really slowly make that transition back, coming up into the lunge with the back knee bent. Gaze is lifted, finding this warrior one pose with the back heel lifted. Reaching, even as you're sinking a little deeper. And you might do a couple of dips, just bringing your knee down towards the floor. It doesn't have to come real far. Keeping the hips pretty square as you do that. Maybe a little engagement in your left outer hip and glutes to help you stay stable. And then back up. And then open into the twist, bringing your left arm forward. Reaching back with the right palm open. And then sweeping the arms up. And exhale, coming back to downward facing dog. And just a little bit of movement here, whatever it takes. Moving the hips, pedaling the feet. Finding the breath. See if you can feel the breath in the back of your rib cage. Kind of like it's puffing up the back of the rib cage a little bit as you inhale. And then coming forward into plank pose again. With the head lifted. Nice steady pose, breathing. And then all the way down onto the belly again with the knees down perhaps. And reach your arms forward, just bring your forehead down, coming into this prostration, this long prostration. You could bring the palms of your hands together and bend your elbows. Pressing your fingertips together and your palms apart. And then release that. And let's bring the hands under the shoulders. You can either stay here and just roll up, maybe lifting your toes, or you could also come all the way up, straightening your arms into this higher version of cobra. Rolling the shoulders back and down, lengthening up through the crown of the head. Taking a couple breaths, you can feel your rib cage pressing into the inner arms. And then bend your knees, tuck your toes, and come back up to downward dog. And again, finding the breath. This time you might take a three-limbed dog. By lifting your left hand, you could bring it back up to the sacrum. Maybe kind of open the left shoulder a bit as you wrap the right elbow in. And then replace your left hand and bring your right hand back up to your hip, opening your right shoulder. Keep the neck, you have to have some engagement in the neck to hold your head up, but try not to add any extra tension in the neck or jaw. That's unnecessary. Sweeping that arm forward. And then from there, so we're going to step the left foot forward. And so to do that, bend your left knee and then draw it forward slowly and step into that lunge. Coming up into Warrior One with your back heel lifted. So just making those transitions really consciously. Back knee is bent a bit. You could dip the knee down like we did on the other side. Straight up and down with your torso. Strong legs. Breathing. And then coming back to your pose and opening up into the twist with the left palm open. Reaching forward with the right arm. And then sweeping the arms back up. And then we'll step forward again into the forward bend. Nice steady breath. Finding your gaze, letting the forward bend be a little bit calming after the lunges. And then sweeping the arms out, grounding down and reaching up. Hands come together at the heart, and pause for a moment. And then just do a little bit of this twisting with the arms hanging. Just letting it be easy on this summer evening. And coming back to center. And let's do one more sun salutation. We'll add some other things into it. So finding your standing mountain pose and sweeping the arms up. Big inhale. Exhale, come forward with your long spine. You can kind of press into your thighs and lengthen your spine out, kind of getting a little traction. And then coming forward a bit, maybe the hands stay on the thighs or the shins. You can look down at your feet, just kind of noticing the positioning of your feet, maybe spreading the toes, maybe correcting a little bit, noticing if you collapse inward or outward with the soles of the feet. And then from here, let's do that again where we pick up the knee and the foot and step your right foot back. This time spin your heel, so you're going to come up. You're going to windmill your arms up, coming into Warrior Two. So noticing if you're leaning forward at all, almost as if somebody's pulling on your right hand and bringing you so that you're upright, bending into the left knee, and find your gaze, your warrior gaze, over your middle finger of your left hand. Nice deep breath. And then flipping your left palm open, taking reverse warrior. So your right hand could just come down gently onto the right leg. Reaching up, you can look up or straight ahead. Just keep the neck in line with the rest of the spine. And then circle your arms around, bringing left elbow to the left knee for extended side angle pose. Staying with it for a couple breaths. Feeling like this side of your body, the right side of your body, is kind of wrapping back. You can feel that outer edge of your right foot against the floor. And then sweep the arms down and step back to downward facing dog. So taking down dog for a moment, almost like a resting pose. And then we'll bring the knees down and come into prayer for a moment. And see if you can kind of wrap your elbows in so that you get that broadening in the middle of your upper back. Walking your hands over to the right, keeping the hips kind of drawing back. You could flip your left palm so the back of the hand comes to the floor. So feeling some lengthening up the left side of the body, all the way up into the shoulder. And then walking hands over towards the left. Flipping the back of your right hand towards the floor. Tractioning the spine. Coming back to center, spread your hands, tuck your toes, and lift up into downward facing dog. You might try flipping your right palm, right hand, so turning the fingers of your hand back to stretch into the wrist a little bit, into the forearm and palm. And then try it with the other hand. And release that. Taking a breath. And then coming forward again into plank pose. And taking a couple breaths in plank. Keep lifting the belly, lower ribs lift, hug in. And then coming all the way down again onto the floor. And make a little shelf and just rock the hips a little bit side to side. Let's lift the right leg. Keep your left leg relaxed. Keeping the pelvis on the floor. Just kind of keeping your upper body neutral. And then release the right leg and lift the left leg. So pelvis stays on the floor. Right leg is not pushing into the floor. You're just keeping it relaxed, using these muscles in the back of the left leg and the butt to lift the leg up. And then go side to side. Trying to move one leg at a time smoothly like you're kicking in the water. Feeling the muscles that are required to help you do that. And then release it. And then just keeping your upper body relaxed. Again, lift both legs. Maybe lift them a little higher. Steady breath. And release them. And rock the hips a little bit, side to side. You could draw your right knee forward and just do a little bit of a tip and tuck of your pelvis. Kind of like a half frog. See if you can just move your pelvis. So you're just moving the tailbone up and down, a small tip and tuck. And then extend that leg back and draw the left knee forward and tip and tuck. Just seeing if you can kind of refine the movement so you can really control it. And then extending that leg back. I'm going to turn around on my mat. And just rock the hips side to side. And then bring your hands underneath your shoulders and come up. If this is comfortable for your body, coming up into this high cobra. Again, you can always be on your forearms. And rolling the shoulders back and down, lifting the belly. If you want more, you can lift your thighs right up off the floor to engage a bit in the back of your body. That's up dog, upward facing dog. And then bending your knees and drawing the hips back and lifting up. And taking a breath here in your downward facing dog. Then let your right leg float up. You might come up onto the ball of the left foot, reaching your heel up. And then maybe you stack the hips and let the right knee bend. Stretching in the front of your right hip and belly, and then lengthen it back up. Let that foot float back down. Lift your left leg up, maybe on the ball of your right foot. Really wrap your elbows and press your hips up. And then open the hip, bending the left knee. And straighten it back up, bringing it down. Take a breath. And then lift the right foot up, bend the right knee and draw it forward. And then bring your left heel down and sweep the arms up for warrior two. Gaze is over your right fingertips. Bending into your right knee. You could kind of gaze down at your right knee, just see that it's kind of tracking over the center of the foot. Coming a little deeper. Nice steady gaze in warrior two. Then flipping your right hand, coming into this reverse warrior. So your legs stay the same. You're just moving the upper body. You can look up or straight ahead. And then sweeping the arms around for extended side angle. So maybe the right elbow comes to the right knee. So really feeling a long line of energy from the outer edge of your right foot all the way up through the fingertips. Your left foot, fingertips of your left hand. And then bringing the hands down and transitioning back to your forward bend, stepping forward. And taking a couple breaths there, maybe bending the knees. You might bring your forearms to your thighs and just rest a little bit in this kind of forward bend squat position with the knees bent, lengthening the spine. And then straightening the legs again one more time. And sweeping the arms up. Reaching up. Gaze is lifted. And at the heart. And just pause for a moment. And again, you could do just that little twisting with the arms. You could even pick your feet up and just take a moment, coming back to center. Let's, I hope you have a strap at home, Janice. That could be good for your upper back. I bet you do have a strap. So if you don't have a strap, you can always use like your bathrobe tie or something. So grabbing that strap, and let's bring the arms up and over a few times. So we're finding the right spot for the grip on the strap so that you have enough room to move through this motion with the elbows bent, keeping the head lifted. Next time your arms come up and over, lifting up through your heart, feeling the stretch in the front of your chest, and feeling how the middle of your back is kind of in a little bit of an arch. Turning from side to side. And releasing that. Then you might just bring your right arm on top and hug yourself, rounding forward. And then open the arms and open the chest and bring left arm on top. And round a little bit. And then we might try this where we kind of move through from one shoulder to the other. So we're going to lift the right shoulder up and bring it around. And then the left elbow comes up and around. And you could be moving your body some, or you could just be very still with your body and move your shoulders. Just playing with it. And then switch directions. Couple more times around. And then maybe coming back to this chest opening. And release it. Let's just set the strap down. And let's come back to hands and knees. And again, do a little bit of cat-cow. Round your spine. Exhale. Inhale. Tip. Moving through the full range of motion of the spine on your hands and knees. And then step your right leg out to the side and do a little bit of cat-cow with the right leg out to the side. Your toes are pointing forward, so tip your spine and arch your back and then round. So really moving your pelvis and feeling a little bit. Feels a little bit different with the leg out to the side. And then come back to hands and knees, keeping the leg out to the side. Open your right arm and stack your shoulders. And breathe here, just opening the chest. You might be able to tuck your shoulder under. And take a breath there. It's a pretty big stretch of your inner thigh with the leg out. You can also bring the leg back in and do the usual one where we have our knees on the floor. And then bring your left hand down and plant your hand to help you come back to both hands on the floor, stepping your right foot in, stepping your left foot out to the side, and doing some cat-cow-like movement with your left foot out to the side. Moving with the breath. And then we'll lift the left arm and stack the shoulders, opening up the chest, breathing, and then maybe tucking your left arm under with that left foot out to the side if that's doable for you. You can always step the foot in if you need to, the knee in. I can't quite get as far down onto my shoulder here, but just feeling the stretch, and then coming back up. You can step your right hand in and help you come back up, step your knee in, and walk your hands forward into prayer for a moment. Again, kind of wrapping the elbows in and widening, broadening in the middle of your back, and breathing. And then walking your hands back in and bringing your hands to your hips, coming up onto your knees, and then hands come back to the sacrum. And we'll come into this camel pose. So you might start with your hands on your sacrum, opening the chest, and kind of getting that leverage. So you're not really dropping back too far. It's more like you're lengthening up and coming into the big arc of your spine, pressing the hips forward, drawing the elbows back, and then release and just have a seat for a moment, back on your heels if you can. Taking a little twist, an easy twist to one side and the other. And then we'll come back up to the knees again for camel again. This time you could try bringing your hands back down your thighs, perhaps. So drawing the belly in and lengthening up through the heart. You can keep your chin tucked, or maybe it feels good to let the head drop back. Make sure you can breathe and talk, swallow. Sometimes it's nice to stretch the front of the chin and the neck. And then release it again. And take a breath. Taking that twist again, just easy, really easy twist. To one side and to the other. And then back to center. And one more time, coming up onto the knees. This time, we'll bring the left hand back to the sacrum and reach your right arm up. And just kind of gaze back towards the right, coming into this back bend with the right arm lifted. And then coming back and bringing your right hand to the sacrum, lifting your left arm up and reaching back, drawing belly in, breathing, tucking the chin, and then release that. Again, come to hands and knees, and round the spine, lift the belly, moving through a very comfortable cat-cow a couple times. And then coming back to your quadruped, your hands and knees. Let's reach back with the right foot, tuck your toes, and stretch back into the right ankle and back into the back of the leg. You can even rock a little bit. Letting that foot come up and pressing back through the heel, reaching forward with your left arm. Finding the breath. Nice steady breath, steady gaze. Kind of lifting a little in your lower ribs. Lifting the navel, breathing. Maybe lifting the top of your left foot off the floor. I noticed when Peter was teaching that he lifts it way up and balances on his knee. And then release that and circle your hips. You can make the circles as big as you want or as small, just kind of feeling into your lower back. And then coming back to hands and knees, this time reaching back, tucking the ball of your foot, your left foot into the floor. Keeping the back of the head lifted, maybe rocking a little, stretching into the back of your left leg, then letting that foot float up, and the right arm comes forward. Maybe you lift the top of your right foot up off the floor, balancing, steady gaze, breathing, and release again, and just circle lips. Maybe make the circles really big, all the way back to the heels and around, coming forward. And then let's come back to downward facing dog. And maybe you could come forward in from downward dog to cobra a couple times. Using your strong belly muscles to help lift you back up. Kind of swooping forward into cobra. And then back up to dog again. Let's draw the right knee forward for pigeon. So, setting yourself up and being in this upward facing variation to begin with, and finding the right place for your pelvis and hips, and then coming forward, and also the right place for your knees so that you're feeling this in the outer hips, maybe in the lateral part of your upper thigh. Finding your long spine. Again, feeling for the free flow of your breath. So anything that constricts the free flow of your breath, just readjust. So like maybe that would be a different position of the neck that you find yourself in, or something pressing on the front of your body or your belly where it's hard to breathe. Just back off and find your breath. And then you have your strap handy, because we just used it. Walk your hands back in. You could take the strap and put it around your foot. Around the top of the foot. And then, actually we're going to do it with the left hand. So you could use the strap to do a rotation of your shoulder, which also gets into that mid-upper back, making the strap as long as you want to. And feeling like you're kind of pulling on the strap with your foot and also with your hands, so there's some tension there. And you can make that a really generous amount of strap, or you can bring it in tighter. So you might use your right hand to support you, and then release that. And you could set the strap off. We're going to use it on the other side, so just set it near you. And then perhaps you could plant your right hand and reach back for the left foot, and maybe you can get a little quad stretch there. It might be with your hand on the foot, and you might be able to spin your fingertips and draw your heel in towards your buttocks. And then release that. And let's lean over towards the right. And we'll swing the back leg all the way around for a seated twist. So planting your right foot on the floor, hug your knee in, and then slowly let your left hip, fall back towards the floor. So sitting upright, feeling your sit bones kind of evenly on the floor. Maybe tucking your right hand under your left thigh. Reaching back with the left hand and just turning your spine. Nice, steady, comfortable breath. So if you feel like your breath is constricted, just back off a little bit, find a little more space. There's no perfect variation of the pose. It's all about your breath. Breathing. And then turning back again. You could stack your knees. You can always have your bottom leg straight. So stacking your knees for steer pose. Maybe the hands come into the soles of the feet as you, keeping your sit bones on the floor, you kind of come forward, moving forward more with your heart. Another breath there. And then sitting back up, you could take your your left foot, the outer edge of your left foot with your right hand, and lift your foot up. And then you could come into this twist. So you're reaching back with your left hand, the palm is open. You're still sitting up kind of on the front of the sit bones, opening the chest, coming into this twist. And then releasing that. And let's just swing the left leg back and step up into downward facing dog. And we'll do the other side. So I'm having a moment trying to remember which side it is. So we're going to draw because I switched directions, right? So we're going to draw the left knee forward. So bring the left knee forward for pigeon. And you have your strap handy. It should be right near you. So coming into this kind of upward facing pigeon, and then slowly coming forward onto your forearms perhaps, and breathing, letting the breath be nice and steady, feeling it in the back of your rib cage. So feeling how the back of your rib cage expands when you inhale. Like it's inflating, the lungs are inflating, kind of puffing up the back of your body a little bit. And then walking the hands in, we'll take the strap and put it around the right foot this time, which is a little bit of a trick in and of itself, isn't it? You might have to do it creatively, like I'm doing right now. And then you're going to turn, coming into the rotation, this pigeon rotation, which you're kind of wanting to rotate the arm in, bringing the upper arm alongside your head. And of course you can take as much of the strap as you want. You can do two arms with this too. I like to support myself with my left hand. And then release that. And then maybe take your foot with your hand, which might involve a quad stretch, if you can do that. Otherwise, just maybe bringing the heel towards the buttock, or maybe not. Breathing. Releasing that foot and sweeping your right leg around. And again, kind of leaning into the left, hugging in your right hip, and let your right sit bone come slowly back towards the floor as you keep your right foot on the floor. Sitting up tall and taking the twist, so maybe the left hand comes under the right thigh, reaching back with the right hand, opening the chest, keeping some room for the breath. Noticing if any tension in the jaw or shoulders could be kind of softened. So you're not bracing. And then turning to the face to the front and stacking the knees. I like to kind of use my hands and the soles of my feet and lift my hips up and bring them back down, the sit bones back down, with my knees stacked and then coming forward. Breathing, lengthening. Doing that big stretch in the back of your hips. And just another breath. And then remember that we came back up and we reached for the outer edge of the right foot with our hand. I failed to mention, you could also do that with a strap, if that feels more doable. And then you're gonna lift the foot up, reach back with your right hand. So you're coming into this twist with the leg lifted, sitting up, and that could be with the hand on the foot as well. And just another breath. And release that, and then sweep the back leg around. Let's step back up to downward dog for a moment, just kind of evening yourself out. And then bring your knees down and then come to your forearms. Kind of tucking your shoulders back in so they're not rounding forward, kind of drawing them back in. You can kind of feel your lats underneath your armpits kind of engaged. And then you might just try keeping the elbows pinned on the floor. Try just rotating your lower arm, bringing the backs of the hands to the floor, and then rotating it around again without rounding your shoulders. Then tuck your toes and lift your hips. And you might be able to lift one leg. This is dolphin pose. Keeping the hips really level. Again, keeping the shoulders kind of drawn in. And then try lifting the other leg. And release it. Make your knees wide, like for a frog pose, but with the feet together. And we'll just take a few breaths there. On your forearms. So feeling the inner thighs, keeping the head lifted. And then bringing the knees back in. Let's come up one more time onto forearms. So again, draw your shoulders back. So feel kind of your lats engage. Keeping the elbows pinned on the floor. Try that without moving the shoulders to bring the backs of the hands to the floor. And then back. So keeping the shoulders right where they are. Tuck your toes, lift your hips. And then this time you might want to glide a little bit forward and back. Sliding dolphin, we call it. And then bringing the knees down, and just sweep your arms back. Come into child's pose and rest your shoulders and your arms. Feeling the deep fold at the front of the hip. Feeling the back of your body moving with the breath. And then let's come into frog pose again, this time with your knees apart, and bring your feet out, flexing your feet if that's okay for your knees. Finding the right spot for your pelvis so that you can feel that opening in the inner groins and thighs without pulling too hard. It's a deep, intense pose. You might try to kind of rotate your heels towards the floor and lift the toes, and press your ankles the inner ankles into the floor, and release that. So kind of screwing your heels into the floor again, lifting toes, rotating so the knee opens a little bit, and releasing that. You might find yourself a little deeper in the pose. Just another breath or two here in this big, deep opening of your hip, the front of your, of your inner thighs is what I'm trying to say. And then just coming forward onto your belly, bringing your knees closer together, and just letting your feet go side to side. And you can circle your feet around in one direction and the other. And then release your legs. Just take a moment, breathe into your belly for a moment. And then let's try, bring your right arm out to the side, palm down towards the floor, your hands a little bit below the shoulder, and then pressing into the left hand, rolling onto your side. You might be able to bring your left foot back and tap the floor, or even come to the sole of your foot. For me, this is enough. Some people like to reach back with their left arm and clasp their hands. I can't do that, but so this is kind of an opening of the front of your chest on the right side, and you'll feel it in the middle of your back, your shoulder blade. Just be gentle. We're not trying to push too hard. And then roll onto your belly. And we'll do the other side, reaching out through the left arm, palm of the hand towards the floor, rolling onto your back. And maybe bringing your right foot back. I can see something on the screen, so I'm coming forward. Oh, hi, Marianne, if you're there, if you're actually there. And Janice, I know you're there. So some people call this pose open wing, and some people call it broken wing, which I think is a terrible idea. I like open wing better. And then coming onto your belly again, and just relaxing for a moment, rocking the hips. And then from here, you might reach back for the ankles and come into bow pose. So pulling yourself up and just rocking a little bit. You don't have to come up really high, just do your best. Maybe rocking. And release down onto the belly. Rocking the hips a little bit. And then let's roll onto our back. And let's do happy baby pose after that. So bring your feet up. You can reach for the outer edges of the feet or for the inner soles of the feet. Just rocking a little bit from side to side. And then draw the knees in towards the chest. Janice, I am thinking of your mid-back, and I'm trying to address it in different ways. Let's bring the soles of the feet to the floor. And your feet are about hip width. Bring the backs of your hands to the floor. Relax your shoulders. And then using your legs and the muscles around your pelvis, lift up, roll up, coming into bridge pose. So push your hips up pretty far. Keep that little natural curve of your neck. And then let your hips kind of come down to the place where you're not using so much effort. And you'll kind of feel like there's a sling of your body. It's kind of like a hammock. It's kind of relaxing. Just moving a little bit. And then roll all the way down slowly, drawing your knees in again. And then bringing the left foot down with the left knee bent, drawing your right knee in towards your chest. And then straightening that leg up. So you could use a strap or you could reach your hands back behind the thigh and then circling your right foot. So you're getting a little ankle movement. Maybe you can reach for the sole of your foot, or you could use the strap to do so. And then maybe your left knee comes out to the side, and you're going to open your right leg out to the side. You can also straighten your left leg, just trying to keep that hip pin towards the floor. Sometimes it's a little easier to have the counterbalance of your left knee opening. So feeling that inner thigh stretch and breathing. I'm just kind of bringing the practice back down towards the floor since it's warm. And just another breath there. And then bringing that right leg back up, straightening your left leg. So if in straightening your leg, you kind of feel like you're rolling up in your low back, just bend your knee and press your lower back towards the floor. So a lot of flex in the foot. And then taking the strap in your left hand and your right arm out to the side. Just to slowly let your right foot come over, keeping your sacrum down on the floor. You could even tuck your thumb into your right hip, And there comes a point where you can't bring it over any further without lifting the right hip. So pause there, take a breath, and then let that foot come all the way over. For me, that's about to here. Or I can bring my foot all the way down, but my right shoulder will lift up. So I'm going to keep my right shoulder pinned to the floor and use the strap to hold my foot to the level where I can keep my shoulder on the floor. Breathing. And then bringing that leg back up. And so now you're kind of like in this upside down splits position. So when you pull your foot in towards your head, you'll notice your lower back starts to round. So just back off to the point where you can keep pressing tailbone back towards the floor. And then bring your left foot up and into the strap. You'll be for a moment in a L shape, in a forward bend on your back. And then unhook your right foot and bring the sole of your right foot to the floor. Breathing, let your back really relax, especially like the middle of your back and the lower ribs kind of being heavy on the floor. Breathing, you can feel the breath in the back of your body. Letting your right knee drop out to the side, perhaps taking the strap in your left hand and opening that foot out to the side. And you could also straighten your right leg. It's a little bit more core work to do that, because you got the counterbalance of your right leg this way with the knee bent. And then bringing that foot back up and maybe straighten the right leg, taking the strap into the right hand, left arm comes out to the side. And then you're bringing the right or left foot over towards the right in this twisting kind of moving towards a twist, keeping your sacrum and the left side of the back of the hip on the floor. You can even take your thumb there and sort of press it down. So that's a big stretch. Maybe up the side of the leg. And then bringing the arm out to the side and letting the hip come up. Maybe looking back over your left shoulder. Coming into this twist. Feeling your breath in the back of your rib cage, in the back of your body. And then bringing that foot back up for a moment. And release it. Release the strap. You can set the strap off to the side. And Janice, I know you have a ball. So let's do some stuff with the ball to close, including maybe like doing fish over the ball. So if you know you need pillows for your head for that, you could get some pillows. I'm going to just put this down low so that we can roll around on the ball. So taking your ball and let's just roll for a moment. So supporting your head and your neck and rolling up and down on the ball. I'd like to do just a little bit of core work with the ball too. But getting into that spot that you mentioned, the middle of your back, maybe coming into bridge, pressing the ball into that spot, maybe even up a little higher into the shoulders. Coming back to the breath. And then maybe you could come into fish over a ball when you're ready. So the ball is underneath the middle of your back. So you could kind of adjust yourself. And it's nice to have a pillow under the head, especially if your head doesn't come to the floor, then you really have to support your head. But even if your head does touch the floor like mine, it's more comfortable for me with a pillow. Sometimes I'm kind of lazy and I don't want to get one, but then when I do, I'm like, oh, that's way better. Yeah. it's just not as much strain. And I feel like I can really breathe and allow myself to kind of drape over the ball and not worry about my neck. So a couple more breaths there. And then supporting your head and coming up, bring the ball underneath your sacrum. I get too comfortable here. So bringing the ball underneath your sacrum, arms down by your sides, lift your legs up, and let's do a couple of quick core exercises. So we'll start with one leg at a time, toes are slightly turned out. Inhaling, heel down, press tailbone into the ball and exhale back up. Inhale, heel down, lengthen out through your belly, press tailbone in, exhale back up. Side to side like that. And then you might switch to doing it with your heels together, toes apart, and both legs come down. So feel how your belly can lengthen and stay contracted at the same time. So it's not popping up too much. Going slowly, and maybe the next time your heels come towards the floor, you could kind of hover for a moment, maybe lift the back of the head a little bit off the floor, keeping the neck neutral, and then bring your heels all the way down. So this time you're doing a different variation of lying over the ball. You have it under your sacrum, tailbone pressing into the ball. So as long as that's comfortable for your low back, it's a little, it's a big stretch of the front of the hips. So you might even kind of feel into that, kind of into the muscles that are on the inside of those, of your pelvis here, and these, what we call our hip bones. And then release, just another breath. And then walk your feet in and take the ball out and bring it under your head if that feels good. And you could turn your head from side to side. Maybe it feels good to stay on one side. You might be able to feel some tense muscles in the back of the neck and head, kind of pressing the ball in. Also feeling a little opening on the opposite side, and then turning in the opposite direction. I was out and about today quite a bit, and everywhere I went, I kept forgetting to put my mask on. It was like I didn't even remember it was the pandemic, and it was suddenly like I was back in the time where I didn't have to wear a mask. And a couple times I was jolted back into, oh yeah. Not sure what happened in my brain, but just another breath here with the head on the ball. And then take the ball out. And just set it off to the side, draw your knees in. Rocking a little bit. Then you could bring your feet down to the floor and make them a little wider than the hips, arms out to the sides, and just let your knees fall from side to side, really slowly, back and forth. Next time they come over towards the left, you could let them stay there. Maybe picking your left ankle up on top of the right knee. And then releasing that and coming over to the right, possibly picking your right foot up, right ankle up, and bringing it on top of left knee. And release that. And come back to center. And draw your right knee in. And take an easy twist, bringing your right knee over towards the left. You might look back over your right shoulder. And then rolling onto your back, extending right leg, drawing left knee in. And taking your left knee over towards the right. Maybe looking back over your left shoulder. Into the twist. And then just rolling back onto your back. One more time, drawing knees in. And then you can keep the soles of the feet together, let your knees come apart, and bring your elbows, hands to your elbows, up over the head, coming into this reclined bound angle position. Feeling the breath coming in and out through your nose, filling your lungs. Little yawning, sorry. And then bringing the arms down by your sides and extending your legs, coming onto your back for your final resting pose. I'm going to come to a seated position, but stay on your back for a couple breaths, just feeling your Shavasana corpse pose. Allowing yourself to be very heavy and releasing all of the weight of your body to gravity. So just really connecting with the fact that you're being completely supported by gravity, by the earth. The earth is cradling you. So just allow all of your efforts and all of your purposeful movements and breathing to drop away and allow yourself to be very surrendered in your body for a few moments. So no strain anywhere. Feeling the breath without strain. So the breath just flows in and out in an easy way, unimpeded, unobstructed. Maybe just taking a moment of gratitude for your practice here while you're still on your back. For all the years of practice and that cumulative effect that it's had on your life. And then you might roll over onto your side and come back to your seat for a couple breaths. Just finding the long spine and this heavy lower body again, finding your breath. So surrendering again the weight of your body to the floor even as you're rising up, and you feel how gravity allows you to get this length in your spine. And feel the breath in this position as it flows in and out of your body. And just take 2 or 3 more breaths. In gratitude for your practice, you might bring your hands together at your heart. And you might bow your head to your own practice, to your own inner teacher, your higher self, or your higher power. Thank you for showing up. And Janice, I'll be teaching for Key while she's gone. She's leaving on, I'll start teaching for her on Tuesday evening, and I'll be here for all of her classes for 2 weeks while she goes off to visit her parents and do some other things. So I hope I'll see you, and maybe some of your other family members and anyone else. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you so much. Great to see you. Namaste.